What's going on, homesteaders? This is Ready Set Homestead, where the only fluff is the feathers. And today we're gonna be putting together our YardBird Plucker. So we're gonna get right into it. All right, first things first, whenever I build anything, I like to get everything out and kind of line it out. So I'm just taking all the screws out here, making sure I have them all separated. It comes in one bag, so I'm making sure that each of them is separated so I can easily access each and every screw or bolt or nut whenever I need it. So first thing you're gonna be doing is taking this axle. The axle is a long black rod. You're going to take one of the wheels. You're going to be putting the wheel on the end of the axle. This is the first step of the instructions themselves, by the way. So once you get this, there's a little nut that you're going to screw on. It fits right on there. There's a washer and nut, and you're going to screw that on. You want to make sure you make it tight. I think it was 15 millimeters. I don't remember exactly. The instructions will tell you exactly what you need to do. Now, I don't have a whole lot of metric sockets, so I just use a wrench. But yeah, you're going to put your wheel on, and you got one done. The two axles are not the same. One axle has a female end, one has a male end, because they're going to be sliding together. So just keep that in mind. But it doesn't matter which wheel you put on which side, because the wheels are identical and they're going to fit on exactly the same way. So same thing. This is the second wheel. You're just going to put it on. You're going to screw on that nut, and you're just going to make sure that it's tight. You'll notice that they freely spin. So of course you want to make sure that it freely spins once you tighten it on, because if it doesn't spin, well then, hey, it's not really that great of a wheel. In the box, you're also going to have 3 different legs. These are the legs. 2 of them are going to have a plate with a hole in it. 1 of them does not. The ones with the hole in it are for the axle. So this next step isn't actually part of assembling the Plucker as it comes. If you watch my unboxing video, you saw that there was a part that I got that I did receive was damaged. I also said to keep the styrofoam. You're going to keep the styrofoam for this reason right here. I had to use a separate piece of styrofoam. This is actually a lid to an ice box, but you're going to be putting the machine with the motor side facing up onto the styrofoam. Now, this was a cap. The cap that I had gotten was damaged when I received it. Mistakes happen. It was a shipping error. It was not YardBird, and YardBird corrected it immediately. They sent me a new cap within, I think it was 3 days I got it. And it's really, really easy to reassemble. You just take your little screws, and you're going to attach them, and then your cap is reassembled, and we're ready to continue. So when assembling the legs, you want to make sure that the 2 legs with the plates that are going to hold the axle are on either side of the on and off switch. That's that circle right here. And you want to make sure that they're going to be in a position in which you can slide the axle through. You're going to know if you mess it up. I can't really give you a great example on how you're going to do it, because if you mess it up, again, you're going to know that you messed it up. You just swap the legs over. But you want to make sure that they're on either side of that switch. That is an important part of it, to make sure that one is on one side, one is on the other. If the switch is not in between the 2, then you've done it incorrectly and you need to rearrange it. The assembly of the legs is pretty straightforward. There's going to be a hole in the leg. You put that hole into a shaft on the motor, and you have 2 bolts. The bolts are going to have a washer on each side of the leg, and then you're going to have a nut that goes over it. Of course, you can use your sockets for this. All I have is a little driver, and it fit one of the sockets. Wasn't big enough for the other ones, so I used my driver and a wrench to get everything tightened up and nice and clean. So go ahead and start putting them on and tighten them up as you go. And just to give you a reference of how easy it actually is to screw these on, my son came out, he's 4, and he actually helped me. He screwed the driver in and got it nice and tight. I didn't really have to do much after him, and he was holding an apple in one hand. So if he can do it, well, hopefully you can too. There's going to be 3 legs in total for you to assemble. So once you get done with the first one, just rotate your styrofoam and move to the next one. When you finish that one, rotate the styrofoam and move it to the next one. All of them are going to attach exactly the same way. Of course, the only difference is going to be that some of them have that plate with the hole in it in order for you to assemble the axle through it, so that you can move your YardBird around without having to drag it and scrape it across the mud or rocks or whatever you may have inside your yard. So get those assembled, and the next step is going to be that axle. So if you follow the instructions, you should have your legs put on, and you will have 2 separate axle pieces that are going to slide together. A little bit better idea here. You can see the angle of the plates so that you can slide that axle through smoothly. So one side is going to be a female end. That's this one. The other side is going to be a male end. That's this one over here. Of course, I have my helper who helped me hold it in place. But you just need to make sure that you line up the little holes. There's holes in both of them. Those holes are going to have to be lined up so that you can stick your screws together and attach them in one piece. So once you have that, the screws are pretty easy. It doesn't matter what side the screws go in at this point. Remember, this is an axle, so it's going to be spinning. You just want to make sure that you stick those bolts. I say screws, they're bolts. But you stick the bolts through and then you put your nut on there as well. So you're just going to tighten those down, and we'll get to the next step here. So once you get the axle and wheel back on, it's time to flip this guy back up. If you do this, it should fit perfect, and then you're going to get your drum. Now, the thing about the drum is it's upside down. That piece, the bottom plate, is actually in the wrong spot. It's done like this for shipping, but you need to take it out. Now, it's not super hard to take it out. I was more worried about breaking those fingers, but those fingers are tough. So you just got to kind of manhandle it to get that plate out of there. But you literally just rip it out. So rip it out and set the bolt to the side, because this is the hardest part. Everything up to this point has been pretty easy. I tell you, man, there's this one finger that you have to stick in. I don't know why you have this one finger that you have to stick in. This is me going back to the instructions to see if I'm doing it wrong, because it was really, really, really hard to get the only finger that you have to put in into that plate. So I was struggling, I was pushing, I was stretching. I ended up getting a little screwdriver, like a flathead, to help kind of wiggle it through and pull it through. So definitely work on that. So remember the beginning when I said organize your pieces? Hope you didn't lose this piece. This is probably the most important piece in the entire set. So this piece, I can't remember what it was called. It's a block or a lodge or something of that nature. But this piece, you can see down here on the motor, there's a slot. This piece is going to go into that slot, just like so. It's magnetic. Then the plate also has a hole and a slot, just like it. If you lose this piece, the plate isn't going to spin. So do not lose that piece whenever you do this. Very, very important. Don't lose that piece. So you have to get the plate on. After you get that piece in, there is a nut that you're going to be putting on top. It's going to look just like this. It's a domed nut. I think they actually call it a domed nut, if I remember right. And then you're going to tighten the screw on top. So that guy's going to make everything nice. I did find a little driver that fit on this set, though, so that was nice to have that one available. It would have been a little bit of a difficulty if I was using a wrench with all those little fingers sticking up at me. So make sure you tighten that guy on, and you're good to go as far as the base goes. Once you're done with the base, then you're going to be moving on to the drum. This part's pretty easy. You're going to set the drum on. Now, you do have to match them up. They don't match exactly. When I say exactly, it's not like equidistant. So they're going to fit a certain way. So make sure that you have them on, latch them in. And then I also put the little carabiners, right there. Carabiners just make sure that it doesn't come undone. So it can't come undone with those carabiners. Technically, it could without them. So it's all put together. Now, there's a few things that you do have to do that are remaining. Go ahead and take out, of course, the extension cord. There is a little screw that is over the on-off button. Didn't realize that at first. You got to take that screw off in order to turn the machine on. It is a GFCI, so you're going to need to make sure that you go ahead and reset that if it's not working when you first turn it on. And, of course, plug it in and turn it on. If everything's done properly, you're going to see this. So start to finish, this was 45 minutes, but that included me filming, talking to my son, things like that. So you can put this thing together in about 30 minutes, hook it up to your hose. I'll be showing that in the operational video. So essentially, from the moment you unbox it, you can have a plucked chicken in less than an hour. Thank you again, YardBird. Again, YardBird did not sponsor this video, but I do want to thank them. As homesteaders, we have a good community, and we've been sharing one plucker between 3 different families, and so this is really going to help us out. If you're interested in getting one, link's going to be down in the description below. I highly recommend it. I've used the YardBird before. It's great, and I think you're not going to regret it. Enjoy Homestead. This is Ready Set Homestead.